There's something I need to tell you, and it might contradict everything you've been taught about God's will. You're in pain right now, real pain. Maybe it's a job that's slowly killing your soul. Maybe it's a relationship that fell apart and you still don't understand why. Maybe it's a dream you had, something you knew God wanted for you and it just didn't happen. The door closed, the opportunity never came, and now you're sitting here wondering, did I miss God? Did I make a wrong turn? Is this even where I'm supposed to be? And here's the thing that's eating you alive. If God really wanted you somewhere, wouldn't it feel good? Wouldn't doors open? Wouldn't people celebrate you? Wouldn't it feel easy? So either you're in the wrong place or everything you've been taught about God's guidance is incomplete. Here's what I discovered after watching hundreds of people's lives and going through my own crucible. Sometimes the most painful seasons are exactly where God wants you most. And I know that sounds crazy, it sounds wrong, it sounds like spiritual abuse or toxic positivity or something a manipulative pastor would say to keep you trapped. But what if it's not? What if your pain isn't a sign you're lost, but a sign you're being found? What if the very thing that's making you question everything, the difficulty, the confusion, the heartbreak, the injustice of it all, is actually evidence that you're exactly where you need to be? And here's the wild part. There are 7 specific, undeniable signs that reveal whether you're in the right place, even when it hurts like hell. Some of them will hit you like a lightning bolt. You'll recognize yourself immediately. Others might be harder to see because they're spiritual things, not logical things. But when you see them all together, you'll have undeniable proof that you're exactly where God wants you. And that proof? It might be the only thing that keeps you going through the next phase of this. So before we go any further, please hit that like button because this message is for people who are suffering and need to know their pain has purpose. And subscribe because we're about to go deep. Here are the 7 signs. Number 1 sign. You're growing in ways you hate. This is the weird one, right? You're stressed, you're uncomfortable, you're learning things the hard way, you're being forced into situations you never wanted. And it sucks. But here's what's happening beneath the surface. Real growth almost always hurts. Think about a muscle. It doesn't grow in comfort, it grows through resistance. You're lifting a weight that's too heavy, your muscles care slightly on a microscopic level, and then they rebuild stronger, heavier, more capable. That's the only way muscles grow. There's literally no other mechanism. Your character works exactly the same way. Maybe you're in a situation where you're forced to be patient. You're naturally impatient. You want everything yesterday, but this situation is making you wait. Or you're forced to be honest when honesty is hard and costs you something. Or you're forced to be humble when your ego is screaming to protect itself. Things you've been avoiding your whole life. And it doesn't feel spiritual, it feels awful. But here's what's really happening. You're becoming a person you've never been before. 6 months from now? A year from now? You won't recognize yourself. Not because you got thinner or more successful, but because your character will be unrecognizable. You'll be stronger in ways that matter, wiser in ways that last, more capable of handling the next hard thing. And that growth wouldn't have happened without the pain. I know someone who spent 3 years in a job he hated. Terrible boss, low pay, no recognition. He applied for 47 other jobs. Didn't get a single one. It would have been easy to think God didn't care or wasn't guiding him. But looking back, he says those 3 years forged something in him that made him successful in everything that came after. The patience, the humility, the work ethic, the character. The pain was the price of becoming who he needed to be. Comment below, what's one character trait you've developed through pain that you wouldn't have gained any other way? I'm talking about real, painful situations that changed who you are. Number 2 sign. Everyone around you is confused about your choice. Your friends think you're crazy, your parents think you're throwing your life away, your ex thinks you've lost it, your coworkers are confused. Even people at church are questioning whether you really heard from God. And in your moments of weakness, and there will be moments of weakness, you think maybe they're right. But here's what I want to tell you. Maybe they're right, or maybe you're seeing something they can't see yet. One of the biggest signs you're exactly where God wants you is when the people around you, even people who love you, don't understand it. Why? Because God's plan often looks foolish to the natural eye. Let me give you some examples. Abraham left his comfortable home, his entire life, with no map, no plan, and no clarity on where he was going. His family thought he was insane. His friends thought he'd lost his mind. Why would you leave everything you know? But Abraham was walking into his purpose. He was walking into becoming the father of nations. He couldn't have seen that from where he was standing. He just knew God said go, so he went. Joseph was sold into slavery by his own brothers. Can you imagine that betrayal? His entire family thought his life was over. They thought his dreams died in that pit. Spoiler alert, they didn't. Decades later, Joseph realized that every painful, confusing, seemingly backward step had positioned him to save his entire family during a famine. He couldn't see it while he was in prison. It looked like abandonment. It looked like failure. It looked like God wasn't there. But God was there the whole time. Here's the thing. If your path made complete sense to everyone around you, if your parents understood, if your friends cheered, if everyone said, yeah, that's obviously the right choice, then it probably wouldn't require faith. It would just be common sense. It would be the safe choice, the logical choice. The confusion is actually a sign you're trusting something bigger than yourself, something bigger than logic, something bigger than comfort. And that's what faith actually is. Now, I'm not saying everyone who disagrees with you is wrong. Smart people should listen to wise counsel. But there's a difference between wise counsel that's challenging you to think deeper and fear-based reactions from people who just can't see what God is doing. You know the difference in your spirit. You know if this is wise counsel or just resistance. Tell me in the comments, is there one decision in your life where everyone doubted you, but you knew you had to do it anyway? And did it work out? Or are you still in the middle of it and trusting? I want to read your stories. Number 3 sign. You keep getting redirected, but something stays the same. You wanted plan A. You were sure about it. You could see it clearly. You had dates, timelines, maybe even told people about it. And then it fell through. The door closed. The opportunity disappeared. The relationship ended. So you pivoted. You tried plan B. You thought, okay, God is redirecting me, but I'm still moving forward. Nope, plan B didn't work either. Rejection. Timing was wrong. Resources didn't materialize. So you tried plan C and D and E, and now you're starting to lose faith. You're wondering if maybe you've been chasing something that was never meant to be. But here's what's interesting about your situation. Even though the path kept changing, even though the how keeps getting rewritten, something deep inside stayed constant. A desire, a passion, a calling, a vision that won't die. That consistency, that's a sign. When God redirects you, He's not changing your destination, He's just changing your route. He's not killing your dream, He's protecting you and positioning you for something better. Maybe the job didn't work out, but that desire to help people, still there, still burning, it hasn't gone away. Maybe the relationship ended, but that dream of building something meaningful with someone, still there. Maybe the business failed, but that passion for innovation, still calling to you. You're not lost, you're being routed. I think about this woman I know. She wanted to be on a TV show. That was her dream. She auditioned, didn't get it. She applied to work at a media company, rejected. She tried podcasting, low downloads, nothing was working. But the core thing, her desire to communicate, to connect with people, to share truth, never died. And now what? She's reached more people through social media than she ever would have on that TV show. The destination, connecting with people through media, stayed the same, but the route, how she got there, looked nothing like what she imagined. And usually, those redirections come with pain because they require you to let go of how you thought it would happen. They require you to be flexible, to surrender your timeline, to trust a different path. That's hard, that's painful, it challenges your faith. But the what stays the same, because that what is your purpose, that what is your calling. And that consistency, that refusal to die no matter how many times the door closes, that's God saying, this is still yours. Not the way you thought, but it's still yours. Drop a comment. What's the core desire or calling in your life that keeps coming back even when the paths to it keep closing? What's the destination that won't die, even if the route keeps changing? Number 4 sign, you're becoming someone you actually respect. This one hits different. You're looking in the mirror, maybe after a hard conversation, a failure, or a moment of real honesty, and you're thinking, I actually respect who I'm becoming. Not who you are yet, who you're becoming. Because here's the thing, you wouldn't be becoming that person if you were comfortable. You wouldn't be developing integrity if everything came easy. You wouldn't be building wisdom if you hadn't made mistakes. The pain? It's the refiner's fire. And if you can look at yourself, at your character, your choices, your direction, and think, yeah, I'm becoming someone I want to be, then you're exactly where God wants you, even if it doesn't feel like it. Number 5, sign your prayers have changed, not your circumstances. Remember when you first started praying about this? You asked God to remove the pain, to fix the situation, to change your circumstances. But somewhere along the way, your prayers shifted. Now you're praying for strength within the situation, wisdom in the circumstance, trust despite what's happening. That's a sign you're exactly where you need to be. When God's purpose is the priority instead of your comfort, your prayers change. You stop demanding an exit and start asking for endurance. You stop saying, get me out, and start saying, grow me here. And that shift? That's spiritual maturity happening in real time. Number 6, sign. The hard things are teaching you what you actually need. Before the situation, you might have wanted success, money, recognition, a specific outcome. But now, you realize you actually need peace, or faith, or real community, or self-worth that doesn't depend on external things. The hard season is stripping away what you thought you wanted and revealing what you actually need. That's divine editing. God's not just sitting in heaven saying, nope, you can't have that. He's saying, you're asking for the wrong thing. Let me show you what you actually need. And the pain? That's the cost of that education. But it's an education you couldn't buy any other way. Number 7 sign. You can't leave, even though you've tried. Here's the real one. You've tried walking away from this job, from this city, from this situation, from this calling, and you just can't. Something keeps pulling you back. Not because it's comfortable, not because it's easy, but because deep down you know this is where you're supposed to be. That's God. That's the kind of inner compass that doesn't lie. And the fact that you can't leave, even though you've wanted to multiple times, means you're exactly where you need to be. Because His presence is more real to you in that place than anywhere else. Here's what I want you to remember. Pain isn't always a sign you're in the wrong place. Sometimes it's a sign you're in exactly the right place, being shaped into exactly who you need to become. Your suffering has purpose. And before you go, please hit that like button. It helps this channel reach more people who need to hear this. And subscribe, because we talk about faith, growth, and tough, real-life stuff like this every single week. Drop a comment below and tell me, which of these signs resonates most with where you are right now? I read every single comment, and I want to hear your story. Thank you so much for watching. You're exactly where God wants you. I'll see you in the next one.